Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, you know who it is, Kayvon, and we are here, done with week number 6. Week number 6 is in the bag, and it's time to turn all eyes to week 7. But of course, before we do that, we have to recap what happened in week 6 in the big, the mighty, the NFL that everybody loves to tune into. And each and every week we get new storylines. Something big happens on the field, off the field, content at its finest. And it's just great. It's just great with so much stuff going on in the world. So much things with COVID and cases rising all over, and always, as we like to say, our hearts and prayers are out there for all of you that have been impacted by COVID in a negative way, or just dealing with tough situations, tough times because of COVID, or not, or even, not because of COVID. We pray for you, and our heart is out there for you, and all we can do is just say, hey, let's keep chugging along. Let's keep on going. Let's try and stay on the positive bandwagon. Let's try and have some fun. Let's try and bring a good light to your day, a good 1 hour and 20 minutes to your day every time you listen to us. And we hope that we do that. We really do. We get a lot of, whenever you guys write into me or tweet to me or DM me about what you want to talk about, or, making fun of what I talked about or anything like that. I love it. You know why? Because it means that you're enjoying that you're listening to me. And even if it's making you angry with some of my takes, that means that it's taking your mind off of something else. And that's what the whole entertainment, sports media is all about. And, I'm no veteran at this. I'm not some big time sports radio host that's killing it all over. But I do like to think that I'm getting better each and every week. I'm thankful to have this platform and talk my talk. And be able to say some of the things that are going on. And then I'm thankful to have this platform to really talk about what you guys want to talk about too. I see what you guys say, and I'm always bringing up everything that you guys want to talk about, because that is what makes things fun. When you do solo dolo each week like I do twice a week, sometimes it gets a little draining. Sometimes you want someone over here talking to you where you can say, hey, shut up. Like you're just wrong. Shut up. So when you don't have that, your head gets a little bit bigger. You feel like all your takes are right. And, in my case, they usually are. And then so it's nice to get y'all's feedback. And it's nice to just kind of have a conversation with you, the listener, on air, with what you guys said earlier in that day or earlier in that week. So keep those tweets coming. At GSMC_sports is the company page. And then, of course, mine is at Kayvon excuse me, got that mixed up there. At GSMC_football is the company page. And at GSMC_sports is your boy Kayvon Izami's page. So tune into that as always. And tune into everything on the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm telling you, we've got everything from financial podcasts to football podcast, basketball podcast. Yes, the basketball season is over. Yes, LeBron James, the GOAT, LeBron James. And, just for all you out there, I'm not going to get into this because this is a football show, but that is right. I said the GOAT. LeBron James is the GOAT. I mean, he just does it again and again. He can't stop. Who's going to stop him? Who is going to stop him, huh? New team, new coach, new players, doesn't matter. Give him the ring. Give him the ring. Give him the finals appearance. It's a lock every single year. And doing it at 35, it's beautiful. So basketball's over, but that does not mean the content is over. The offseason is coming. Who's going to resign? Is Giannis going to go? Go check out the basketball podcast. Go check out the All Around Sports podcast. We got the MLB World Series going on. That's right. I'm watching the MLB World Series in my office right now while I do this show. Pretty cool, huh? So if I get a little distracted, well, I'm going to try my best not to do that. I'm going to try and be professional. I can tell you the Dodgers are up 2-1, bottom of the fifth. They got runners on first and second, and it looks like the Rays are going to be finally making their first pitching change of the night. You remember we had Kershaw versus Glasnow as the starters there. It's game one. I think they're playing in Dallas, I want to say. And there are some fans in the building, which is cool. So you got to give props to the MLB. See, this is a football podcast, but really, because of what's going on with COVID, it's an all-around. We have to talk about sports and how they're affected by COVID. And every single sport, in one way or another, for worse or for better, well, not for better, but for worse or for worser, if that was even used right there, probably not, knowing me, sports was affected. Whether it was to stopping sports completely, like some of these colleges, ending some of these programs, which is the worst that we could have had, and really hurting a lot of these student athletes, which is terrible. As someone that works in the scouting and recruiting business for football and basketball mainly, I've seen a lot of this happen, and it really is sad. And then, just to points of like professional sports where they have to go into a bubble and stuff like that. And, we got to give props to the NHL when they crowned their Tampa Bay Lightning and they finished their championship. We got to give props to the Los Angeles Lakers when they went to the NBA, when they crowned their championship, which was their champion, which was the Los Angeles Lakers. And now we got to give props to MLB. And I was someone earlier in the offseason, earlier in the summer when MLB was going through all these heated negotiations with the MLB Players Association, and they were too worried about freaking money, and they weren't talking about COVID rules. And then once they finally did start the season, well, COVID was blowing up everywhere. Why? Because they didn't put enough emphasis and attention on it. So I ripped them. I ripped them hard. But guess what? They adapted. And that is the key to everything that is going on. I don't care if it's sports or in your real life, with your job or your family or just your situation in general. Adaptability is going to get us through this. Adaptability and positivity. Keeping our heads positive. Keeping our minds focused. Staying as happy as we can. Trying to fixate our minds on other things that don't take, us down throughout the day. That's the key to all this. And hopefully you guys are all doing your best job at that. So big props to MLB. Big props to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays. Big sports years so far for Tampa Bay and Los Angeles, right? You got the Lightning win the Stanley Cup. You got the Lakers win the NBA Finals. Hey, and guess what? Now you have the Dodgers and the Rays in the MLB World Series, and you got a team down in Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I said at the beginning of the season might be able to make that Super Bowl run. They're starting to look good as they beat up on the big bad Aaron Rodgers. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Wasn't that something to see? They won from their defense. And I said in the beginning of the year, if Tampa Bay is going to go far, it's going to be from defense first. They have the best coordinator in the entire NFL in Todd Bowles, their defensive coordinator, who should definitely get another head coaching job at some point. I hope he does, because when you look at the Jets situation, he actually did a pretty dang good job when he was there compared to what's happening now. So you got to give him props there. And that was a great game. Actually, not really. It started out 10-0. It looked like the Packers might run away with it. And then 2 pick sixes for that Tampa Bay defense against Aaron Rodgers, who never really throws interceptions. Those were his first 2 of the season. That was something crazy to see. So Tampa Bay, that was a big win for them. We're going to get into that What about that ugly performance by the Dallas Cowboys? Cowboys fans, I know a lot of you listen to this show, and this is going to be a tough show for you, but I want to say this before I get into what I'm going to say about the Cowboys, because I want you guys to please hang on and listen to this. It's going to be rough, okay? There's no sugar coating it, all right? I am going to rip every single thread of your football team today. Every single thread. But I'm asking you as a friend, okay? I don't know you, but I know that I will like you. You're a friend, okay? I classify you as a friend, all of you that are listening. Please, just listen to what I have to say. If you are a realistic fan, okay, and I'm not talking about these delusional fans. These delusional fans that are sitting up there that Andy Dalton was going to be the best ever. He's going to come in and take Dak's spot just like this. Oh, injuries. And just, if you're a delusional fan, Mike McCarthy, best coach ever, just, you can turn it off then, because there's no getting into your brain at all, because you already have made up your mind. But if you're smart, if you're sensible, if you understand football, and I know all my listeners do, all my great listeners do, if you understand football, I'm asking you to stick around. I'm asking you to stick around and hear what I have to say. And yes, it's going to be bad. And yes, I'm going to rip these Cowboys hard. But stick around, listen to what I have to say, and then tell me. Then come at me at Kayvon_sports, at GSMC_football. Tell me what you think about what I have to say. Because I guarantee you it's logical. I don't think I'm saying anything that you realistic Cowboys fans, let's say it again, realistic Cowboys fans are not thinking. Because you did not watch that game last night and say, what in the mess am I watching? Okay? You did not watch that game last night and you didn't say, we don't have Dak. Yes, you're right, you don't have Dak. I don't care. You have a loaded roster. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't win the game, but my goodness, what kind of performance was that? If you're a realistic fan, you understand that. If you're a delusional fan, you're sitting there and saying, actually, the roster really isn't that good. Really? Well, where were you at the beginning of the year when you were saying you had a Super Bowl roster, huh? So, no, I don't want to hear that. The realistic fans, give me a second, stick around as we get into it right now. Remember, we've got a lot going on in the show today, all right? We're going to break down this Cowboys game against the Cardinals, all right? Then we're going to talk about the breaking news that came out today. Tua Tagovailoa is officially named the new starter for the Miami Dolphins. They have a bye this week, and then he will come back facing the Los Angeles Rams for his first ever start in the NFL. He got in a couple snaps last week when they were dismantling the New York Jets. Remember now, they are 3-3. They are one game back of first place in the AFC East, and they are now going to change out from Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has done a great job, and bring in Tua. All right, interesting move. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about the Chiefs-Bills Monday night game, of course. We're going to talk about the Green Bay Buccaneers Monday night game. We're going to dive into what we're going to see up here on Thursday night, which we unfortunately all have to watch, which is that NFC matchup. And we're going to get into all the things going on this past weekend, and then look ahead to Week 7. So stick with me here. Let's start as we go into what we saw last night. What did we see last night? That's a serious question, okay? I mean, I know we saw one team in the Arizona Cardinals that really did not play well. Let's just admit it. They played a great defensive game, but they did not play well on offense. Kyler Murray only had 9 completions. If you told me before the game that Kyler Murray was only going to have 9 completions, I would have told you that Dallas would win that game, all right? But it was not that. That was not the case. Arizona blew them out 38-10, and I mean blew them out. Blew the doors off that place. Blew up AT&T Stadium, that billion-dollar stadium. This team, this Dallas Cowboys team, is a disaster. They have a talented team on paper. Can I please, ladies and gentlemen, please, I'm asking for your full attention here, all right? It's a talented team on paper. That is the key word in all of this. On paper. When you put these players with their massive contracts, you put them out on the field, why are they not performing? They are not performing. Why? Dexter Lawrence, Where are you? Where are you after you got your $100 million deal? Zeke Elliott, what in the world are you doing? No, I'm serious. Like, what are you doing, Zeke? You just got $90 million, bro. What is going on? But I'll tell you what, and we're going to get more into the Zeke here in a minute. Derrick Henry got paid $50 million this offseason. Almost half of what Zeke got. And Zeke is not even in Henry's class at this point anymore. Henry got his deal and has been better than what he was before that deal. Zeke has drastically dropped off. Look, what did we see last night? We saw the Andy Dalton-led Cowboys. The Andy Dalton-led Cowboys offense was horrific. At least the Dak-led Cowboys offense could put up points. They were still not winning games, and that's a whole nother conversation, but Dalton did nothing good on Monday night. It was terrible. And you know, Cowboys fans, they always want to be talked about, right? They always want their team in the news. They always do. It's the big thing. Right? It's the big thing. They want to be talked about. They want their team to be in the news, and they always are. They're America's team, and I'm throwing a lot of air quotes in the air right now. So, Cowboys fans, I'm going to give you your moment. I'm going to talk about you. Let's talk about this team. Let's talk about this team on a country-wide podcast. Whole entire country can hear this. Because I'm telling you this. If we're going to do this to the Jets every Monday morning after a game, where we come on here and we rip them, well, we should sure as hell do it to the Cowboys as well. That was a disgusting performance on a nationally televised game in your own building with fans in the stands. It was a weird game. It fell out of sync. The Cardinals were out of sync to start the game. They really weren't great either. Then Zeke fumbles the ball twice, and then Dalton throws 2 interceptions. Dalton was really bad. And then look at the turnovers. Look at the turnovers. Through 6 games so far this season, the Dallas Cowboys has 17 turnovers through 6 games. Do you know how many turnovers the Dallas Cowboys had all of last year? 17. Guys, we have 11 weeks left in the season, and the Cowboys are already at their mark that they had last year. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. This is supposed to be America's team. I don't want to see this team play again. I'm sorry. Take their primetime games away. I'm not kidding. Nobody wants to watch this performance. Nobody does. And there is a lot of blame to be spread all around, and we'll get to that. Trust me. There's enough pieces of the pie to go around. We'll get to that. But the bottom line is, if we're going to sit up here on Monday, and we're going to destroy the Jets, and we're going to destroy Adam Gase, then we need to do the same dang thing to the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. I mean, shoot. At least the Jets didn't lose by this much to the Cardinals last week. The Jets played the Cardinals last week. Week 5, they played the Cardinals. They lost 30-10. 30-10. I mean, that's pretty bad, right? It was in New York. The Cowboys lost 38-10. The Cowboys lost worse than the Jets. Okay? So, at least the Jets showed some fight. Mike McCarthy did nothing. Absolutely nothing to help his team out yesterday. Or shoot, what has he done all year to help his team out? What has he done all year to help his team out? Other than sit behind Dak's 500-yard games. Last night, it was 28-3. Late in the game, 28-3. And Mike McCarthy calls out his kicker, Greg Zuerlein, to kick a field goal when you're down 25. What are you doing? That is a 3-possession game when you're down 28-3, and it's a 3-possession game if you make that field goal. There is no difference in that score. Why are you doing that? It's poor coaching. It's poor execution by the players. And I don't want to see this team play again until they show some fight. And as Cowboys fans, why would you want to see it either? Why does this team deserve primetime games? Seriously, the Jets got one primetime game. How are the Cowboys any different right now? Mike McCarthy, you are down 28-3 and you try and kick a field goal to make it 28-6? What are you doing? And see, this goes all the way back to this offseason. The Cowboys interviewed one head coach this offseason. One. And it was Mike McCarthy. At some point, it's not about the defensive coordinator. It's not about the defense. It's not about the injuries. It's not about anything else that we're talking about. You were supposed to have this team ready to go, and you didn't, Mike McCarthy. You didn't. You failed your fan base, and you embarrassed everyone. And the players did as well. And look, I know this sounds harsh. I told you guys, it's going to sound harsh. But I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I didn't come on here and speak the truth. Realistic Cowboys fans, realistic football fans, they all saw the same thing last night. And shoot, maybe Mike McCarthy is finding out that it's actually really, really hard to coach in the NFL when you don't have a first ballot Hall of Famer as your quarterback. And you know what? I don't even blame Andy Dalton. Should he have been better? Yes, of course he should have. But I don't blame Andy Dalton. You know who I do blame? Stick around, because I'm going to tell you exactly who deserves the blame for what happened last night and for what's going to happen the rest of this season if this keeps up. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this with that answer.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this lovely day. Whatever day it is that you guys are listening, however you're listening, and wherever you're listening, we super appreciate it. GSMC family over here, we love you guys for listening. You've really been been great fans all throughout the season, all throughout the off season. And we're just going to keep trying to do our best to put on some good content for you and have a great season. I mean, think about this. We're 6 weeks in to the NFL season. Time flies. How you doing your fantasy team, huh? This is when week 6, I always say this, week 6 is when you start to either sell the farm or bring in some players. And honestly, this is for real football and fantasy football. Like, are you really struggling? Like, if you have 2 wins under your belt, depending on how good your league is, you're probably out. Now, I'm in a league right now where 2 wins, you're still in it because everyone is either at 4-2 or 3-3 or 2-4. So that's a really competitive league right now. But if you've got a bunch of people in your league at 5-1 or 4-2 and you're at 2-4, maybe you should look to try and get some value, heading into next year if you're in a dynasty league, or if you're in a keeper league or something like that. But if it's just a season-long league, then don't give up. One season and you win. Go out and try and make a good trade. And if you're winning, definitely hold on to your team, but try and add some players. Try and add some bench players. We're still dealing with COVID. You never know what's going to happen there, but it's definitely been awesome. I know if you have guys like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, you're doing well. Derrick Henry, you're doing really well if you have Derrick Henry. I know if you had Dak Prescott before he got hurt, he was really putting up a lot of yards and a lot of points for you. So it's interesting. Last year it was like, at this time, if you had Lamar Jackson, you were probably in first place or getting close to taking over first place in your league, right? And crazy thing is, Lamar wasn't even drafted in a lot of leagues last year. He was picked up. But this year, there's really not that one player that is carrying a team. There's a lot of players that are doing great things, like Derrick Henry is just dominating. He's really picked up where he left off, but there's not really like that one Lamar Jackson. Lamar's taking a big step back. He's still doing great. The Ravens are at 5-1, but he's not putting up what we saw in that MVP year. And I said that going into the season. I said it's very, very hard for someone to repeat that MVP type performance. Mahomes had a great year after his MVP, but it was nowhere near that type of great year. Lamar's going to have a great year this year, but it was nowhere near that type of year. Those are special, once in a while years that we get to see here and there. If you have Russell Wilson, how could I forget about him? He was on a bye last week. That's why I'm sure you're doing pretty well. Russell Wilson has been absolutely amazing. He is my MVP pick right now as we are 6 weeks into the season. So there's just a lot of great stuff going on in the NFL right now. We've got some great storylines. We have 3 teams left that are undefeated. 3 teams left undefeated. 2 of those teams are facing off this week, which is awesome. Pittsburgh Steelers 5-0, Tennessee Titans 5-0, and the Seattle Seahawks 5-0. Each team has really, really positive, strong perks about them, and each team has a couple of weaknesses too. If you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, They have a fantastic defense. I think it might be the best or the second best defense in the entire NFL. And their offense is hitting on all cylinders as well. Their one weakness, their running game is not the best. James Conner has been pretty good, but he hasn't been anything like of fantastic. And then, of course, the biggest thing is how does Big Ben hold up? Right now, he's been great. He was my pick for Comeback Player of the Year, and he's definitely proving that. Right now, he is definitely in the driver's seat for that award. Remember, I picked the Steelers to compete with the Ravens to win this division. I said the Ravens would barely win out. Would barely win that division by a game or two. But I said the Steelers could win 11, maybe even 12 games this year. And right now, they're heading to that. The Titans, what can you say more about Ryan Tannehill? He has played his way into the MVP conversation. It's going to be a great matchup this week with them and the Steelers. I wish the NFL would flex that game into a primetime game because that would be so cool to watch. But those two teams are just, they're on fire right now. And Ryan Tannehill is just every second proving to the doubters, proving to the Adam Gase lovers, there are not very many left, I'm sure, that he is a really good football player, and he was just used wrong in Tennessee. And I think that Mike Vrabel is on the short list right now of Coach of the Year. Him, definitely Mike Tomlin is up there. So there's no doubt about that. And then with the Seattle Seahawks, when a team takes a bye, we kind of forget about them for a second. But the thing with the Seahawks is this. They by far have, and I know it's kind of crazy to say by far, but to me, they have the best quarterback out of those 3 teams, right? Big Ben, very good. Ryan Tannehill, very good. But Russell Wilson is great. The problem is, though, I would say if you look at those 3 teams, which team has the biggest glaring hole? It's got to be the Seahawks defense, right? The Titans, their defense has been shaky. They've let in a lot of points. But their defense has been nothing like what the Seahawks did. The Seahawks defense can't stop anyone. It's the worst pass defense in the league. And then you have the Steelers, who I think is out of those 3 teams is the most well-rounded team because they do have the best defense, and then they have a great offense as well. So But because of the greatness of Russell Wilson, he kind of makes up for that glaring hole that they have on defense. Now, I would say one thing about the Seahawks before we move back onto the Cowboys here. Watch for John Snyder and Pete Carroll to make a big move at the trading deadline. Okay, whether that's in bringing another weapon on offense, which I don't think that's going to happen, or making a big trade for a pass rusher on defense. Now, there's not many pass rushers out there. I could see them trying to go for like a Takk McKinley from Atlanta, who's on a 5th year right now. Unfortunately, he's been injured, so I think if he was healthy, that's more likely. Since he's been injured, I don't know, but watch for them to try and go at a pass rusher. Whether that's someone on a franchise tag, whether that's someone on a 1-year deal, whether that's someone that's on towards the end of their deal, their deal, so they can just get them currently, so that they can just get them for a 1-year rental and try and make a Super Bowl run. All right, so watch out. John Snyder has known to do that in the past when they had the Legion of Boom and they were making those Super Bowl runs. Watch out for that to happen. Now, let's get back into where we left off segment number 1. Again, this is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. Hope everyone's having a great day. And we ended segment 1 talking about just the disgusting play of the Cowboys on Monday night. It was embarrassing. I don't think there's any other way to put it. It was hard to watch. I don't think many people want to watch this team play again. They have a lot more primetime games to go. And I get it. Dak's out. Their offensive line is banged up. But guess what? So are the Eagles. And the Eagles have two players from their starting team coming into the season that played on Sunday. It was their center in Jason Kelce and their quarterback in Carson Wentz. And they still put up a fight against one of the best teams in the league in the Baltimore Ravens. I don't care that the Ravens were up all game and they went into prevent defense and then the Eagles came back. I don't care. That means they didn't quit. That means they have a good coach that helped scheme some things up to get around that prevent defense and actually get some points on the board. Okay? That team showed fight. That team at least made it an interesting game where we were all tuning into. This game we were all done watching by halftime. Unless you had some fantasy players on there or you're a diehard Cardinals fan, why are you still watching that game? You're not. Or I guess if you're a Cowboys fan and you're just sitting there watching it in your sorrows. So what we saw on Monday night is just it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable from a coaching standpoint, and it's unacceptable from a player standpoint. So then the question goes around all day today, and this is Tuesday, so it's right after the game, and it goes around all day saying this. Who's most to blame? Well, everyone deserves a little piece of the blame. If you want to look at it as a whole, Jerry Jones, this roster. People thought it was a much better roster. It's not, and I don't want to hear, well, if Dak was in there, it would be different. Really? Because you guys won one game with Dak in there. One game. And if it wasn't for the Atlanta Falcons just having a mental lapse of how to go on an onside kick, you would have not won any games. Okay, so, and I'm not saying that's because of Dak. I'm just saying because we thought that this roster was better than it was, and me included. So that's a person to blame. Mike McCarthy deserves half of the pizza, in my opinion, because he deserves a lot of blame. He is not helping this team out at all. He is not putting this offense in an easier position. He did not help Andy Dalton at all last night. The defense, of course, is someone to blame. We'll get into that. But then a lot of people want to say, well, let's blame Andy Dalton. And I don't blame Andy Dalton. Should he have been better last night? Yeah, of course he should have. But guys, we know who Andy Dalton is. We have seen him for 8 years in Cincinnati. I don't know why people thought coming into this game that he was going to be fine. No, I don't blame Andy Dalton. I knew what we were getting in Andy Dalton. And you know what? I don't blame the defense either. And so many people, stop. Don't turn it off. Don't turn it off. So many people right now are in their cars and they're screaming at their radios or they're screaming at their phones and they're saying, what in the heck is this Kayvon guy saying? How can you not blame that defense? Did you watch the game? This guy is an idiot. Well, just hold up real quick. Hold up. What have we seen the first 5 weeks of the season? Seriously, what have we seen the first 5 weeks of the season from this Cowboys team? The Cowboys defense is terrible. We all know that. You know that. I know that. There is nothing new. They are literally on pace to being one of the worst defenses in the history of the NFL. We all know this already. So I don't blame the defense. What's that famous quote? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. When someone tells you who they are, believe them, dang it. And the Cowboys defense all season has said, hey, we're over here and we're terrible. Believe them. Because I do. So I don't blame them because we already knew they suck. I expected them to be awful. They have showed us who they are all season, so I believe them. If you didn't believe them, well, that's on you. Take a step back and maybe look at it a little bit more of an objective way. So if I knew the Cowboys defense was bad and you knew the Cowboys defense was bad, then Mike McCarthy has to know the defense is bad, right? He had to have, right? So you adjust. And this is when I actually do give Mike McCarthy some credit because he did adjust. How do you adjust? That's the question, right? You feed Zeke the ball. You feed him the ball. You give your $90 million running back the football. And guess what? Mike McCarthy actually did do that. Zeke, my guy, Mr. Cabo. You remember when all summer you were pouting and chilling in Cabo till you got paid? Remember that? Well, you got your money, that's for sure. And your starting QB is gone. This is your team now. When you got that much money, well, then that much more is required. When you get paid the big bucks, more is required. If you're at your job and you get a promotion, that doesn't mean you still keep doing the same job. No, more gets put on your plate because the company is trusting you with paying you more. That means more is required. Right? When you are earned something, which Zeke was earned that big contract, you got your contract, well now more is required from you. So Zeke, more is required from you. You even used some of that money that you got to get a tattoo on your stomach, which by the way, what happened to Zeke's six-pack? Anyone know? That six-pack that Zeke, you used to show off, always rocking those crop tops in Ohio State in your first couple years with the Cowboys. Maybe it's hiding because the winter is coming or something, but you went and got feed me on your stomach, and there's no six-pack there showing that. So what does your coach do? He feeds you the ball. He gives you the ball. What did we say all last week going into this game? We said if the Cowboys want a chance to win, you have to run the football. You can't expect to throw the ball 450 yards with Andy Dalton. No disrespect to Andy Dalton. We just already know who he is. He's a good quarterback when he has a lot of talent around him. Well, guess what? You run the ball. Guess what they did? The first 7 plays in the game either went to Zeke or were targeted to Zeke. The first 7 plays went to Zeke. 11 of the first 14 plays for the Cowboys went to Ezekiel Elliott. And guess what? Oh, come on. Do I really need to answer this question? 2 of those 14 were fumbles by Zeke. The only reason they finally stopped getting Zeke the football is because he got benched. So I'm telling you right now, for this game, and this game solely, my blame goes to Zeke. You have to put this on Zeke. You have to put this on your $90 million running back. Zeke wasn't just the worst player on his team last night, on Monday night. He was the worst player on the field. And that's not Zeke. Zeke is a great player. We have seen what Zeke can do. We have seen it. He's the best running back in the league when he is playing at his best. That's why he got that contract. And look, I hate to bring this up, and it's too early to tell this, but every single person listening to this show has watched professional sports enough to know what? To know that when some people get paid, when some of these athletes get paid, they get better. They work harder. They stay motivated. They want to get paid again. And then, on the flip side, when other players get paid, they stop working as hard. They get satisfied. They get content. They lose their six-pack. Zeke, it's too early to tell, but you're not trending the right way, my friend. You're not trending the right way. Listen to this, guys. Zeke has fumbled 4 times in 6 games so far. 4 times in 6 games. All 4 of those fumbles led to the opposing team scoring a touchdown. All 4 of them. You're giving the other team points. Is that enough? No, you want more? Okay, here. In Zeke's last 14 games, only 2 have turned into 100 yards rushing. Only 2. And this guy is a top 3 running back paid in the NFL. Look at the regression that is happening with Zeke. It's not just last night. It's not just week 5. It's not just week 4. This has been a year and a half now of regression. Ever since he got paid, Zeke is starting to fall off. Even when Dak was out there, this same type of lack of production was happening. Zeke is the problem, and he needs to fix it. It's that simple. It's harsh, I get it, but I've seen how great this guy can be. I saw him when he was at Ohio State where he put the team on his back to beat Alabama in the first ever college football playoff and then to beat Marcus Mariota in the finals and win the first ever college football playoffs. That was Zeke. Yeah, they had, Cardell Jones as their QB who got hot and all that, but no. Let's get it right. That was Zeke Elliott. I saw him come into the league and run for the most yards ever in the first 2 years as a running back. That was Zeke. And now I saw him go to Cabo, sit there and pout, while his teammate Dak Prescott was also looking for a contract. But what did he do? He stayed at camp. He stayed with his team. He stood up and answered questions. No, not Zeke. Zeke went out to Cabo. He had some fun. He wrote cryptic tweets and took pictures. And good old Jerry Jones gave in and gave that man $90 million. And since then, we have seen him lose his six-pack. We have seen him drop his production drop drastically. We have seen him fumble the ball over and over. 2 100-yard games in 14 games. A running back that is making $16 million a year shouldn't go one game without having 100 yards rushing. This guy has only had 2 in 14 games. In his last 14 games. Zeke, you got to step it up. You have to step it up if this Cowboys team wants to do anything this year. But now the question becomes, should they want to do anything this year? Seriously, why win the division? That's a realistic question. What's the point? Seriously, all my Cowboys fans out there, if you're a realistic Cowboys fan, if you're not a delusional Cowboys fan, you really want to win this division? We're going to talk about what I think you should want as a Cowboys fan right after the break. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. Don't go anywhere when we come back. Do the Cowboys really want to win this ugly division at 6 wins? And Tua Tagovailoa, the Hawaiian man, the man of Hawaiian Aloha Tua, is coming out to start his first ever NFL game after the bye this week. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens. But are the Dolphins making the right decision to make this move now? We'll discuss that right after this on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back. Quarter number three. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. You know who it is. I am your host. Give it to me. Tell me. Kayvon is on me. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. Sit back, drink your coffee. Maybe it's the afternoon when you're watching, so have some tea, some decaf coffee, whatever. I like a nice little Diet Mountain Dew here and there. Not the best for you, but can't help myself. I love Diet Mountain Dew. It's a problem. You know, I used to start out where I just had one like every so often. I've gotten to the point now where I feel like I'm almost drinking a Diet Mountain Dew a day. And I kind of feel embarrassed to say that a little bit. Like, because that's bad. You know, I was never someone that was big with soda. Yeah, it just wasn't my thing. I would get cravings for like a Pepsi or, you know, a Dr. Pepper here and there. But I started to really get into Diet Mountain Dew, man. It's got me hooked. It's a problem. It's not good for you. I know that, but it's very tasty. So yeah, I love me some Diet Mountain Dew. Now you guys know that. But it has to be in the can. So this is actually really fascinating debate that me and my sister have all the time, and it's my sister Sarah, by the way. She comes on the show sometimes, our esteemed sports reporter Sarah. We talk about this all the time, and it's like for me, it has to be in a can. You know, I think that soda in general tastes much better in a can, and I've always felt that way. It's not that I don't like soda out of a bottle, but I just think it tastes a million times better out of a can. Now, I do like fountain soda, like if you go to a restaurant, like a burger joint or something, and you get the nice crushed ice with it, ooh, that's really good too. But I'm still, if you're giving me any choice, I'm taking soda out of a can. And I'm drinking it out of the can too, which I think is actually worse because of the aluminum, and that's what I've heard at least, but I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, right? So I like to drink it out of a can, not like pour it in a glass of ice or anything like that. Soda out of a can to me is always the way to go. And then number 2 would be fountain soda, and then number 3 would be bottle soda. I just don't like bottle soda. I'm not a big fan of bottle soda. I think somehow the taste goes away. It's you know, a little more fizzy to me. I guess more carbonated, but I'm much more of a canned Diet Mountain Dew. That's my go-to drink. Coffee in the morning, every single morning, 1 cup of coffee. 2 if I'm really tired, but I don't have them back to back, you know. I like to get 1 cup of coffee, start my day, then come back in an hour and get the second one if I'm really tired. And then in the afternoon, after lunchtime, as a little pick-me-upper, I'll do Diet Mountain Dew, or I'll do like some tea. Hot tea guy as well, big hot tea guy. What's y'all's favorite soda? You know, if you like soda, shout it out at Kayvon_sports. At Kayvon_sports. Used to be a big Dr. Pepper guy, but that's kind of changed over the time. Speaking of Dr. Pepper, real quick, and we'll get back on track. Those Fansville commercials by Dr. Pepper are pure genius. I mean, they're brilliant. I love those commercials. I truly enjoy when those come on. And I don't know if you guys have seen the new one, but it's so funny because it's so realistic to how crazy sports fans like myself think. In this new one, there's this guy, and they're in the Fansville. That's what they call it, right? And they're all fans. They paint their faces of Dr. Pepper colors and all that. And they're watching a game, and the kicker is going to kick to win the game. And everyone around is like, oh, this is so nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh. And then there's one guy sitting on the couch who is not a fan of that team, and he goes, man, this is easy money. This guy doesn't miss. Something along those lines. I forgot exactly what he said, but it's like, this is easy money. This guy doesn't miss. And the kicker missed it. And of course, everyone was like, you said that on purpose. You wanted him to miss. You jinxed him. And anybody that is a diehard fan of a team can fully relate to that. I am crazy with that stuff. I'm not even kidding. So I'll be watching the Falcons game. And this actually happened 2 weeks ago against Carolina. We started out the game terrible. And we're driving down. Somehow we come out in the second half. We cut the score down to 7. And Matt Ryan drives us all the way down to the 5-yard line. I'm watching the game with my girlfriend Emily downstairs at the house. My brother-in-law Matt is upstairs watching his Giants game. That's how we do it on Sunday. My house is very, very loud on Sunday. You got Matt screaming upstairs for his Giants and for his fantasy players. I'm screaming downstairs for my Falcons. Usually it's not good screaming this year, and usually for him too it's not good screaming, even though both of our teams finally got a win this week. But anyways, I'm downstairs, and we're down 7. Matt and Ryan drive us all the way down to the 5-yard line. I'm like, let's go. We can tie this game up. I don't know how we played terrible. Well, Matt comes down for that play, after we get to the 5-yard line, and Matt Ryan throws one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. And I just go berserk on Matt saying, it's your fault. You came down here. Why would you come down here? Like, such an idiot. Obviously, Matt has nothing to do with that. Him coming down here does nothing. But in the moment, that's how a delusional, obsessed, crazy maniac fan like myself thinks. And I know all of you out there smiling right now. You have done it yourself. Don't try and hide. Don't try and lie. You know that you have done that. And I don't blame you. It happens. It's sports, and that is why we love sports, because of those emotions. It takes the craziness out of us. I mean, it brings the craziest part of us out. It brings the tears, the happy tears, the sad tears, the laughs, the anger. Nothing better than sports. Seriously, nothing is better than sports. I love it. I'm so happy we have it back. And I'm so happy that I'm on here talking with you guys about football, week 6, heading into week 7. And we really, talked a lot today about the Cowboys, right? And we have a lot to get into. We will get into more of that here just in a minute. But I do just want to finish this Cowboys talk off with one more comment. And then we'll go into talking about Tua getting the start. And then we're going to look at all the games, not all the games, but the big games that happened on Sunday, break down some of the things that happened. Got some bullet points here on my notepad that I like to take throughout the week, and we'll go from there. Oh, and then one more thing. Not tomorrow. My Saturday show. I am doing a full segment on y'all's tweets. I've gotten a lot of DMs and a lot of tweets from you guys about your questions, what you want to talk about. Some of you really coming at me, calling me an idiot, which I absolutely love. You're calling me out on my predictions, and I'm going to take a full segment, or however many there are, half a segment, full segment, to run through all of those and respond to all of those. So stay tuned for that on Saturday. And if you have not sent me anything, or if you have and you want to send me something else, send it at Kayvon_sports, at Kayvon_sports. If you've sent something already, send it again. I will read both of them out. I promise. I'll read all 3 out if you send me 4 things. I will read everything. We'll take as much time as we can, or we'll take all the time. We'll take all the time to answer everything you guys have said. I've been promising that for a while. So Saturday's show, that will come out. Now, let's move to this. We're just one last point here on the Cowboys. Just embarrassing overall play. And then we'll move on to something else, because I know all you non-Cowboy fans out there, probably even Cowboy fans out there, are getting sick of this, but this needed to be said. I mean, enough was enough. Sit up here, talk crap about the Jets, talk crap about my Falcons, the Giants, all that stuff, and the Cowboys deserve this type of talk as well. Okay? I'll praise them when they do good. I have nothing against the Cowboys. They've never, meant anything to me. Like they never, they're not a rival to my Falcons or anything like that. So I have no ill will towards the Cowboys or anything. This is pure just me being an objective, fan, and talking about, let's be real, not just what I saw, but what everyone saw on Monday night. And after watching that game, after watching every game they have played, and now knowing that Dak is out and injured, if Dak wasn't injured, I would not be bringing this up. Even though if they did keep winning games, I would end up bringing it up, but it's much different because Dak is in there. And because if Dak was in there, he always gives you a shot because he's a good player, right? I have my thoughts about Dak as an overall franchise quarterback, and I think he definitely is a franchise quarterback, and I think the Cowboys should not let him walk as long as he's able to play to his potential after he heals from this injury. I just don't know if he is a franchise quarterback that will be able to win a Super Bowl because of some of the stuff that I've seen with arguably over the years the best offensive line and some of the best offensive players out there. But that's a whole different subject for a different day. Dak Prescott right now is going through a lot, and my prayers are with him. I'm so glad the surgery went well. I heard that everything was good, no infections or anything like that, and I want him to come back better than ever, and I pray that he does. But for these Cowboys, the Andy Dalton-led Cowboys, the Mike McCarthy coached Cowboys, the Zeke Elliott-led Cowboys. Why, and this is serious, I'm being dead serious here, and please, Cowboys fans, answer this question for me, because I cannot wrap my head around it. Why would you guys, as Cowboys fans, now obviously the players are going to want to win. The players are not quitters, okay? Even though the last night, Monday night, they looked like they really did give up. And I never want to say that about an athlete, and I'm not saying that they quit or anything like that. And a lot of it is the game plan and the way that McCarthy does not know how to lead this team. And a lot of it is they lost their leader in Dak, but they did not look like they wanted to play football. But these are professional players that are playing for their livelihoods, for their family, to put food on the table, so they're not going to give up. But for a fan, and even for the whole entire organization, Jerry Jones, if you're out there listening, and I know you are, Jerry, I know you sneak peek on our show, I've seen it, I know you are, why would you want to win this division at what, 6 wins? Maybe, and this would be a miracle, 7 wins. I don't see any possible way you guys get to 7 wins. But, I mean, if all the stars aligned and just the football gods want to say, you know what, we're gonna make Andy Dalton look like Aaron Rodgers the rest of the season, and we're gonna give you guys 7 wins. If that would happen, why would you want to make the playoffs and actually win the division? Because first of all, that's not going to happen, okay? This division is going to be won with 6 games, maybe even 5 games. It's such a disgusting division, okay? This year, the NFC East is probably the worst division I've seen in my lifetime. What is the point? Because let's be real. When you make the playoffs, you're not going to win a playoff game. There's no chance you win a playoff game. The NFC is so stacked. The AFC, even if you were in the AFC, is stacked. So you're not winning the playoff game. So what ends up happening is you win the division, which means you have a draft pick all the way down in the 20s. What is the point of that when you guys clearly have so many holes on your roster? If I'm a legit, realistic Cowboys fan, and again, because Dak is out. Now, if Dak was in, because he is a good quarterback, then it's like, yeah, you do want to win the division because maybe he can catch fire, and with all these offensive weapons, maybe they can catch fire and you can win a couple playoff games. Now, with that defense and with Mike McCarthy as the head coach, I don't think that would have happened. That would happen if Dak was out here, but Dak's not out there. So we know for a fact you are not winning a playoff game with this team out here, right? With Andy Dalton as your QB, you're just not doing it. So what's the point of winning this division? You clearly need help on the defensive line. You clearly need help in the secondary. You clearly need help at the linebacker position because the person that you just paid a boatload of money in Jalen Smith, who I'm so glad got his money and actually deserved his money because he had a terrible injury. He fought his way back, and he was actually playing like one of the best linebackers in the league his first couple years. And then he got his money, and he looks like he forgot how to play linebacker. Looks like he forgot how to play football. I'm not even kidding. So the defense, DeMarcus Lawrence got $100 million. He doesn't know how. He has one sack on the season. $100 million man has one sack on the season. You have no one at defensive tackle. Why on earth would you want to make the playoffs and have to get a first-round pick in the 20s when you need this much help to this roster? We know. Let's wake up, guys. Wake up, delusional Cowboys fans. This is not a good roster. It's not. So, realistically, wouldn't it be better to go win 5 games, win 4 games, maybe even win 3 games, and not make the playoffs so then you can get possibly a top 10, maybe even a top 5 pick and really add a game changer to that defense? So then you add a really good college player coming out of college, top 5, top 10 pick. You have Dak coming back. You have CeeDee Lamb in his second year. You have hopefully Zeke that will get in shape over the offseason and get his act together. Maybe because Mike McCarthy goes into his second year as head coach, he'll get better. Maybe DeMarcus Lawrence will show up, but at least you start to have a better roster. Trayvon Diggs, the cornerback you guys drafted out of Alabama, he'll be in his second year. I think he has a lot of potential. Right now he's getting beat, but he's a rookie. He has a lot of potential moving forward. I liked him in Alabama. So, to me, it makes all the sense in the world to not win this division at 5 or 6 games. It's pointless. It is absolutely pointless, and I would go far enough to say that it will set you back. And I never say that. I want every team to fight for a chance to make the playoffs if they can. And every player will. Trust me. These players will fight for it. They're not quitters. But if you're the organization, and if you are a Cowboys fan, why in the world would you want that? Why? You don't. You don't. Be realistic. Be objective for a second. Please, I know it's hard. Trust me. It's hard for me when I talk about my Falcons. But in the long run, it will do wonders for your team. Wonders if you're able to get a top 5, top 10 pick to help this team out going into next year when you get your quarterback, Dak Prescott, back and healthy and get some of these young players under the system a little bit longer, understanding how to acclimate to the NFL type of game. That makes the most sense to me, and that's what I would want if I was a Cowboys fan. Now, I want to change gears to this, all right? We're not talking about the Cowboys here. I want to get into... We're going to dive into the other Monday night game, which, by the way, these doubleheader Monday night games are amazing. NFL, please, I know this is because of COVID, but can we please look into having this moving forward? Why not? 2 NFL Monday night games is just, it's awesome. It's what everyone wants. And the NFL should really be looking at that and say, we might be on to something here. Let's do that moving forward. I would love that. But we'll get into that Chiefs-Bills game here in a minute, but I want to talk about something that's not being talked about after this week as much as I thought it would, and that's the overtime rules of the NFL. The overtime NFL rules are completely flawed. They've been flawed for a long time, and I just wish they would change it. They have cost teams Super Bowls, they have cost teams the chance to go to the Super Bowl, and they've cost teams wins because of the way this overtime rule is set up. The game that I'm referring to is the Houston Texans against the Tennessee Titans. The Houston Texans started off the season 0-4. They fired Bill O'Brien, and they won last week to go to 1-4. If they beat the Titans this week, they would have went to 2-4, had a win against the Titans, had a win against the Jaguars. That's 2 wins in their AFC South, and they would have been able to actually seriously had a legit shot at making a run. Seriously. But because they lost that game, and the Titans are 5-0, they're out of the division race already, unless something catastrophic happens to the Titans. And they just completely fall off. And we don't see that happening. They're too well of a coached team. So, if you guys saw this game, it was tied up going into overtime. Deshaun Watson is at the coin toss. And so is Derrick Henry. This is an image. I'm telling you guys, go look this up. The ref flips up the coin, catches it, and the Titans win the toss. Deshaun Watson immediately falls back, not falls on the ground, just falls back and throws his hands up, shrugs his head are you kidding me? Immediately saying we lost the game. Because he knows that a very good Titans offense that is on fire with Derrick Henry just got the ball first, which means they can go down and score a touchdown, and the Texans will never see the ball again and get a chance to win, to try and tie it up or try and win the game themselves. So, for those that are not following along, the overtime rules of the NFL are if the team that gets the ball first, whoever scores a touchdown first wins the game. Okay? Now, if, say, the Titans won the toss, which they did, and they went down and scored a field goal, then the Texans would get a chance to get the ball back and go and tie it up. And I get what everyone's saying. Oh, well, they should just be able to stop them. Well, sometimes it just doesn't work that way, okay? Sometimes when you're in overtime, it's really hard to stop NFL players. So why are we taking away the chance? This was a beautiful game. It was awesome. Deshaun Watson and Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry were just going back and forth scoring all game. It was beautiful. Deshaun Watson's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And because he simply lost a coin toss, he didn't get the chance to tie it up for his team or win the game for his team because his defense wasn't able to stop them from scoring a touchdown. Are you kidding me? Why does the game have to end if the team scores a touchdown right off the bat? Why can the other team not get a chance to go down and even it up themselves? It makes no sense to me. That's how the college does it that way, where each team gets possession of the ball, no matter what happens, and it's fun. You remember a couple years ago, we had the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New England Patriots in the AFC title game. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, both players were playing exceptional. We wanted to see them keep going. And because Tom Brady won the coin toss, he got to march down and score, and Patrick Mahomes never got to see the field again. So because he simply didn't win a coin toss, he never got the chance to win the game or tie the game up for his team. It's wrong. I hate the overtime rules that the NFL has, and I really wish, Roger Goodell, come on, man, change it. You don't have to change the 10-minute period. Keep it. If it's tied at the end of the 10-minute period, then the game is tied. Obviously, in postseason, it would keep going, but for regular season. But there's no reason for both teams to not be able to get a chance to have the football. It's the most fair way to go about it. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will enter quarter number 4, segment number 4, the last segment of the show, where we will talk Tua, And then we will make a run through the biggest games of this past weekend and break it all down. Right back on the GSMC Football Podcast right after this.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Quarter number four. Put the four fingers up as we are now in quarter number 4, the last segment of the show. I hope everyone's really enjoying the show so far today. It's been a pleasure as always. It's been an honor as always doing this show, having you guys listen, enjoy, and reach out with all of your comments and your likes and dislikes as always. Think I might get a couple of Cowboys fans coming at my throat here. But I'm hoping, like I said in the beginning of the show, you're looking at it from that smart football person that you all are. I know you Cowboys fans are smart. I know the ones that listen to this show. You're smart. You're not delusional. All right? You're not delusional. You're on board with what I'm saying. What did I say wrong, huh? Zeke, he's got to be better. Duh. I mean, anyone that's watching that game and this his last season and a half knows that he's got to be better. What else? Mike McCarthy, he's been terrible. He has not done anything great as a coach so far. It's young, it's early. I'm not saying that it was the wrong hire. I mean, I said that from the beginning that I wouldn't have hired him, but we all know why he was hired. I mean, we've got into this before. We're not going to get into it now, but it is what it is. Jerry Jones likes to hire guys that he can control. Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy. He's not going to hire someone that's going to put his foot down and say, Jerry, sit up in your press box and let me control my team. The last time he hired someone like that, they won 3 Super Bowls, but that head coach, Jimmy Johnson, isn't in the Ring of Honor. Right? Why? Because Jimmy got too much credit for those Super Bowls for Jerry's liking. I mean, come on. Jerry, you always talk about you want to win so bad. Clearly you don't. All right, so what am I saying wrong, Cowboys fans? You were embarrassed. You lost worse than the Jets lost worse to the Cardinals. All right, you lost worse to the Cardinals than the Jets did. You had fans in your stadium, the Jets didn't. So if you disagree with me, Cowboys fans, that's fine, but I want to know why. Don't just tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know football. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't be having a show, all that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Don't tell me that. All right? I want to know why. And if you give me a good explanation of why I'm wrong with any of the stuff that I said, well, then I'll read it on the air on Saturday when I do all the tweets that I got. And I read them out loud. I'm all open ears, all right? If you don't think Mike McCarthy deserves blame, tell me why he doesn't deserve blame. If you, for some odd reason, don't think that Zeke deserves blame, tell me why. Because I'm having a very hard time understanding how they do not. This is the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. At GSMC_football is the company Twitter handle. At Kayvon_sports is your boy Kayvon's Twitter handle. Hit us up, as always. I am recording this show a little late tonight on Tuesday, so it looks like the World Series Game 1 has gone final. The Dodgers took that 8-3. Kershaw had a very dominant performance. Mookie Betts had a really, really nice performance in his Game 1, showing his power, showing his speed, did it all around. Just great performance by the Dodgers offense, and then Kershaw really stood up and showed what he can do in the playoffs when he's on. I know he gets a lot of crap for some bad playoff performance, and rightfully so, but he had a good one tonight. I think Bellinger also went yard. He's been hot ever since really that NLCS where he really put the team on his back to win that against the Braves. My Atlanta Braves lost a 3-1 lead. That was disappointing. So Game 1 goes to the Dodgers. Now, what we were talking about here, and I want to get into the Tua thing here in a minute, but I just really quickly want to go back to that Houston Texans-Tennessee Titans game because I told you guys how I think the overtime's ridiculous. It is. I think they should go to college overtime besides putting it, in college overtime, each team gets the ball on the 20 or the 30. I think it's the 20, on the opposing team's 20. So, like, Alabama versus Georgia, it goes to overtime. Alabama starts off on Georgia's 20, and they have a chance to score, right? And then no matter what, if they score a touchdown, if they score a field goal, if they don't score at all, Georgia gets the ball back, and they get a chance at Alabama's 20 to either win the game if Alabama didn't score, or win the game if Alabama only scored a field goal. If they get a touchdown, they win, or tie it up. They get a chance. That doesn't happen in the NFL. And again, I don't want them to start with the ball on the 20. I know some people want that, and if that happened, fine, but I just want both teams to get the chance to score. I want it to be a normal game. You kick the ball off. The other team has to drive all the way down the field and score. If they do, great job to them. Well, now the other team gets the chance too. I would love to see that happen. It was unfortunate. It really hurt. It was like, man, it took something out of me when I saw Deshaun Watson just immediately kind of just like fall down almost after he saw that Derrick Henry and the Titans won the toss because he knew, wow, I don't even get a chance to win it. We're always talking about how football is the most team sport there is out there. It is. Basketball, you get a guy like LeBron on your team, you get a guy like MJ on your team, you're going to do some special things. All right? Hockey is very team as well, but you get a good goalie, you can make a big run. Football, your offense can be amazing. If your defense sucks, it doesn't matter. Your defense can be amazing. If your offense sucks, it really doesn't matter. So why are you just going to put one of those position groups, one of those sides of the ball where they have to stop it? It should be fair. Both sides should have a chance to win the game for their team. And one of the great quarterbacks in the league right now, Deshaun Watson, did not get that opportunity to do that. Now, something that happened in that game where really, I think the Texans should have ended the game and it shouldn't have had to go into overtime. And now this is 2 weeks in a row where we have seen coaches do this. And, oddly enough, you want to say, both teams that did it were teams that are in losing positions, teams that have started the season off bad. Last week we saw the Minnesota Vikings go for it on 4th and 1 when they were in field goal range and able to kick that field goal. It would have put them up 8, which then would have made Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have to drive down all the way down the field to score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Instead, they went for it at the 1-yard line, and they didn't get it. So the Seahawks had the chance to go all the way down the field, and all they had to do was score a touchdown to win the game. It made it much easier on them. He said that he went, head coach of the Vikings, Mike Zimmer, said he went there to win the game, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we had yesterday or Sunday, the Houston Texans interim coach Romeo Crennel, who's been in the league for a long time, taking over for Bill O'Brien, who got fired after week 4. The Texans drive all the way down the field and score a touchdown with about 1 minute and 50 seconds left. They score this touchdown to go up 36-29. right? So it was 30-29 Houston. Then Houston drives all the way down the field. They score a touchdown, go up 36-29. So do the math. That means they're up 7 points, right? So if they kick the field goal, that puts them up 8 points, which then means Ryan Tannehill and that Titans offense, which was scoring all day on that Texans team, so we all knew most likely they were going to go down and score, right? But they had to go down and score and get a 2-point conversion. And a 2-point conversion in the NFL is hard. I don't care what the analytics say. And that's why these people are going for it, because it's all about analytics. And listen, I am not someone to bash on analytics. I like analytics. I love that it's become a thing in the sport. I think that it's made the sports better. But also, there's a thing called situational football. And analytics does not take into account of the matchup you're playing and the situational football that you are in. What do you mean by that, Kayvon? Simple. Analytics is all based on the number. It's all based on the matchup of the teams as a whole, of the whole entire averages throughout the league. Well, that's not fair, because when you have teams like the Jets, it brings an average much farther down than it really is, or much higher up than it really is. They don't do it just specifically on matchup, right? On the team that you're playing. For example, okay, let's say 60% of the time, let's say the analytics say that 60% of the time a team that goes for 2 will convert. Well, that's a pretty high number, right? So coaches see that, they get excited. Well, who are these teams converting on? Are these teams doing 2-point conversions against the Jets, against the Giants, against the Falcons, against really bad teams? Or are they doing it against the really good teams, the Packers, the Bucks, the Titans, So that's where I think analytics is a little bit too much, used too much, where a head coach needs to say, okay, please don't get mad at the analytics person. Use the analytics, understand it, but say, you know what, we got to go with the smart move here. The smart move is the Texans are 1-4. If they win this game, they have some life. It would have been an uphill battle, but they still had some life. If they lose it, it's over. You go for 2, you're automatically telling the Titans all you have to do is score to tie the game. And they've been scoring all day. It's not score and get a 2-point conversion. Well, the Texans ended up going for 2. They didn't get it. The Titans drove right down the field like we said they would. They scored. It went to overtime. Deshaun Watson lost the coin toss, so he never got the ball. And now the Titans are sitting there undefeated. And Deshaun Watson and the Texans are 1-5, and their season is most likely over without some miracle run. I understand they're going for the win. And I think it depends on where you're at. See, my thinking is this. If this was the opposite way around, if this was the Tennessee Titans that are sitting there at 4-0, having a really good season, then heck yeah, why not go for it on 2? Why not put the dagger in the Texans season like that? If you don't get it and you lose, well, you lose, and you're now sitting there at 4-1. You're still atop of the AFC South, The Texans, this is a must-win for the Texans. A must-win. So why not make it as hard as possible on your opponent to get that must-win, for them to beat you? And I think the best way to do that would have been by going up 8, so the team had to go all the way down, score, and get that 2-point conversion, which is very hard to get in the NFL because you're on the 2-yard line, the field shrinks, it's hard. You don't have as many plays to roll out, and it's tough. So that's my whole thing with the analytics and what Romeo Crennel and Mike Zimmer to an extent did last week. And it's interesting because we see a lot of teams doing this, and sometimes I think they just aren't using the feel of the game, how things felt, just your gut feeling. Situational football matters. All right, now let's move into Tua. The big news of the day. Tua Tagovailoa. I really don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry, Tua. I know you're not listening, but I'm sorry if I am. I don't mean to disrespect you. It's either, I'm pretty sure it's Tua Tagovailoa or Tua Tagovailoa? I'm going to go with Tua Tagovailoa. What I'm really going to go with is just Tua here, okay? So, as we all know, Brian Flores, head coach of the Miami Dolphins, came out and announced that Tua will now take over the starting spot. Ryan Fitzpatrick will come on the bench. Well, they have a bye week this week. They're sitting there at 3-3. 3-3 in the AFC East. They're in second place. The Buffalo Bills have lost 2 in a row. They're now at 4-2. The Miami Dolphins are at 3-3. The Patriots are at 2-3, and the Jets are at 0-6. So Miami is fully involved in this division race right now. Actually, they're so involved that out of all those teams in the AFC East, they are the only team with a positive point differential. The Bills is minus 12. The Patriots is minus 1. The Jets is obviously a lot, minus 110. But the Dolphins is plus 47. What does that mean? It means that they're not just beating teams, but they're beating teams pretty handily. They're playing good football going into the bye. Good football. I mean, really good football. And so is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing outstanding football. And I get it. Tua is special. And I'm sure Tua was looking awesome in practice. And I said, you can go check the tape. I said before the season started, I said that if Tua is 100% healthy, they should play Tua week 1. I said there is no point of starting the season off and either starting it bad and then bringing Tua in, or starting it good and then bringing Tua in. What does that do? That just puts pressure on Tua to either come in and save the day, or puts pressure on Tua to make sure he comes in and keeps playing well. That's not fair to Tua. He already has injury history. You want to put him in a good environment. So either start him week 1 as long as he's 100% healthy, or let him sit and learn all year like Mahomes did, and then start year 2, week 1 next year, right? Well, that decision was made that they are going to start him coming off the bye next week. So it won't be this week. They'll be in a bye. Then next week, Tua will be the starting quarterback for the 3-3 Miami Dolphins. I can fully say that I am shocked by this move. Look, I'm very excited. Okay, so there's 2 different things here, 2 different emotions. I'm very, very excited because I can't wait to see how Tua plays. We see Justin Herbert, he looks great. We see Joe Burrow, he looks great. Both of them are showing really good flashes. So now we're just waiting on Tua. All right, and I'm anxious to see him play. I'm excited to see him play. I can't wait to see him play. But I also am shocked that they are putting him in because of what I just went through about how the Dolphins are playing and the situation. Also, I do want to say this. Tua did get in last week for a couple of drives at the end of the game. Actually, just one drive. It was 2 plays at the end of the game against the Jets. And after the game, there was a really cool viral picture of him sitting on the field FaceTiming his parents. He's such a good kid. He's such a humble player. And I really do want the best for him. You can just tell he wants the best too. But he has injury history. He's coming back from a hip surgery. You know, he was this legend at Alabama, comes in at halftime of a national championship game to beat Georgia when Alabama was down and out of it. All of this stuff makes me so excited. But I'm also worried. And I'm confused at why the decision is now. It just doesn't make sense to me. Follow me here real quick as I go down this road. Let's look at the Miami Dolphins schedule as they come back from their next week. So, we look at Miami's schedule. They have a bye next week. They then play first the Los Angeles Rams. Who is on the Los Angeles Rams? Yes, that's right. Aaron freaking Donald. The best defender in all of professional football. An absolute grown man that wrecks. And I mean wrecks, people. Do you really want your rookie, who, remember, has a lot of injury history, to play his very first NFL game against that man and that defensive line? I don't. I don't care how good he was in college. That worries me. And let's look at the Dolphins' offensive line. It's one of the worst in the NFL. It is not a good O-line. And yes, they aren't giving a lot of sacks, and people are going to point to that and say, hey, well, they're not giving up many sacks, so how are they bad? They're not giving up many sacks because they have a guy at quarterback who has been playing football for 9,000 years, it feels like, in Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is a true veteran, and he knows how to get the ball out of his hands quick. Actually, if you look at it deeper at the statistics, he is getting the ball out of his hands the third fastest out of all QBs in the NFL. It's like at 2.3 seconds or something. So because of that, he isn't taking many sacks because he knows how to get the ball out of his hands. And remember, we said this exact thing when Tua was drafted. I said, what does Tua need to learn if he wants to be successful and stay healthy, most importantly, in the NFL? He needs to learn how to get rid of the ball quicker. When Tua was in college, he broke his hip because he held on to the ball too long. He got injured a lot because he held on to the ball too long. If you hold on to the ball too long in college, you have no idea what that's going to mean in the NFL. It is way faster. So Fitzpatrick understands that the Dolphins' weakness is their O-line, so he knows he has to get the ball out ASAP, which again, he has been in about 2.5 seconds, which is tremendous. I worry that Tua isn't ready for that. And I'm sure Tua is dazzling in practice and looks great and looks ready to go and all that, but you can't tell me that you're seeing enough from him in practice to feel confident to put him out there. Every backup quarterback looks good in practice. And I appreciate the Dolphins to have a plan and a game plan on when to get Tua out there. I appreciate that. That means a lot. That's smart thinking. But if their plan all along was to get him out there in the middle of October, well, then that's just a bad plan overall. It's just a bad plan overall. Also, plans change based on what's going on in the organization. And last time I checked, what's going on in the organization is that Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing good football and that the Dolphins are 3-3 and they are one game out of first place in the AFC East. Why make this move now? Why? I do not get it. I don't. I'm excited though, and I'm going to love it because now I get to sit back and watch Tua, and I hope he does well and I hope he stays healthy. I can't wait to see how it goes. So for selfish reasons, very excited, but also very confused and surprised about how this went down right now. Brian Flores is a tremendous coach. Man, I respect the heck out of him. He's doing such a good job down there in Miami. So I trust him, and I'm sure he'll have things ready to go, but it is definitely odd and surprising, and it caught us all off guard. That is it, folks. Thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us out. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Really enjoy talking to you guys for the hour and 20 minutes today. Remember, on Saturday, I will read out all y'all's tweets, so hit us up at GSMC_podcast, or at GSMC_football, and at Kayvon_sports. Reach out to us. I'll read out every single one of that you say. So 1, 2, 3, as many as you want, bring them on. Thank you. Have a great night. Enjoy your week. Enjoy some Thursday night football. That NFC game, you got the New York Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles, a game for first place. Who's going to win it? We'll find out. We'll discuss it and much more next episode. Have a great night.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.